30 years ago, Dubai was little more than a modest town amid Arabian desert sands. Hardly anyone imagined it would evolve into the forest of skyscrapers we see today. In fact, 30 years ago, this was mostly desert. In a matter of years, the city skyline has been filled with skyscrapers. Now, thousands of kilometers away, in another arid expanse, a similar metamorphosis is unfolding in one of the last places anyone expected: Burkina Faso. From certain angles, the construction cranes and rising towers in Burkina Faso's capital could even be mistaken for a budding Burj Khalifa on the Sahel. Take a look at Ouaga 2000, a district of Ouagadougou. Here, an ultra-modern high-rise complex is quickly rising from the ground. This $500 million project, the Burkina Business Center, is set to transform the skyline of Ouagadougou's 12th district. At its heart will stand a 35-story glass skyscraper, Burkina Tower, surrounded by 14 other high-rises about 15 floors each. The scale is astonishing. Over 4.6 hectares of land are being filled with gleaming offices, apartments, shops, and even a power plant, all part of a new Manhattan sprouting in West Africa. Peering through the construction gate, one can already see multiple concrete frames climbing upward at a wartime pace. Even satellite images confirm that massive structures are rising from the ground on what used to be dusty, empty lots. This dramatic transformation isn't limited to one development. It spans across downtown Ouagadougou and beyond. Just a few hundred meters from the Burkina site, another ambitious complex has broken ground. Zafara Plaza, a world-class mixed-use center complete with a 5-star hotel, modern offices, upscale residences, and retail plazas. And on the outskirts of the capital, entirely new neighborhoods of affordable homes are taking shape, with paved roads and clean solar power ready for their first residents. Incredibly, 50,000 new houses are being built for free to shelter the nation's poorest and displaced, a scale of social housing that would be unimaginable in many wealthier countries. It sounds like a fairy tale. A poor, landlocked third world nation, long dismissed by outsiders as unstable and underdeveloped, is now compared to the Dubai of the Sahel. Today we explore how this came to be. In this documentary essay, we'll first uncover why everything in Burkina Faso is suddenly changing so fast, the backstory of decades of neglect and a people's resolve to rewrite their destiny. Then we'll dive into what is actually being built on the ground, the flagship mega-projects and grassroots initiatives propelling this transformation, and how they aim to improve ordinary people's lives. Prepare to rethink everything you thought you knew about Burkina Faso. The comparison with Dubai is not made lightly. It symbolizes a rapid rise from the sand, fueled by vision, ambition, and a rejection of the status quo. How did one of the world's poorest, most troubled countries muster the will and resources to start building the impossible? Let's find out. For over 60 years after independence, Burkina Faso remained trapped in the typical developing country narrative. Rich in resources, but mired in poverty. The unwritten arrangement was stark. Burkina Faso exported valuable raw materials like gold and cotton to enrich foreign powers, and in return received token aid that barely addressed fundamental needs. By 2015, after decades of this model, Burkina Faso had managed to pave only around 3,000 to 3,600 kilometers of roads nationwide. To put that in perspective, a country roughly the size of Colorado had less paved road than some small European nations. More than 60 years of so-called partnership yielded under 4,000 kilometers of modern infrastructure. Vital infrastructure like electricity, education, and hospitals remained woefully inadequate, especially outside the capital, where millions live disconnected from opportunity and progress. Many Burkinabe came to see this situation as a form of neo-colonial stagnation. France, the former colonial power, still exerted enormous influence. From controlling the currency through the CFA franc, to maintaining troops in the country, ostensibly for security, yet daily life for ordinary people hardly improved. A telling moment came in 2017, when French President Emmanuel Macron visited Ouagadougou. During a question and answer session at the university, a student boldly asked why the campus still suffered constant power outages and no air conditioning. Macron bristled at the question. You speak to me like I'm a colonial power, but I don't want to look after electricity in Burkina Faso. That's the job of your president." When Burkina's president briefly left the room, reportedly due to the heat, Macron joked to the crowd, "You see, he's gone to fix the air conditioning." Laughter followed, but the deeper message was unmistakable. Burkina Faso was being told it stood alone. Such moments lit a fire in young Burkinabe patriots. If the former patron would not help develop the country, then Burkina Faso would have to chart a new path without its old overseers. This disillusionment culminated in a tumultuous year in 2022, when a young military leadership led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré staged 2 coups d'état in rapid succession. To outside observers, this appeared as instability and political chaos. But for many inside Burkina Faso, it represented something very different. A decisive break from decades of stagnation and dependency. Traoré promised to cut colonial ties and pursue a new model based on sovereignty and self-determination. And for the first time in generations, many citizens believed that the country's future would be shaped not by foreign powers, but by its own people. Traoré's new government wasted no time in making dramatic changes. He ordered the expulsion of French troops in early 2023, ending a military presence that had lasted for decades. This move shocked Western governments, but was celebrated domestically as a declaration of sovereignty. Traoré framed the situation in stark terms. Burkina Faso faced a choice between full independence or continued subordination. In speeches, he urged citizens to stop waiting for external assistance, declaring that no one else would build their future for them. He emphasized self-reliance as a necessity, not an option, arguing that national survival depended on internal strength, unity, and action. With the old paradigm dismantled, a new strategy began to emerge. In late 2024, the government unveiled a bold development framework called Faso Miaro, meaning build the nation. The philosophy was revolutionary in its simplicity. Use domestic resources, domestic labor, and domestic leadership to modernize infrastructure and improve living conditions. Instead of relying on international loans or waiting for foreign aid, the government began mobilizing its own population and reallocating existing funds toward construction and development. This approach challenged decades of conventional development thinking, suggesting that political will and coordinated national effort could substitute for external dependency. The results were immediate and astonishing. The government launched an unprecedented road construction campaign, aiming to build 5,000 kilometers of paved roads annually. This target alone exceeded the total road construction achieved over the previous 6 decades. Observers were skeptical at first, but progress quickly became visible across the country. Heavy machinery rolled into remote provinces. Thousands of young workers were trained to operate excavators, pavers, and construction equipment. Roads began connecting isolated communities to markets, hospitals, and economic centers. By mid-2025, approximately 5,000 kilometers of new roads had been completed in just 1 year, transforming not only the physical landscape, but also the national psychology. This transformation unfolded despite enormous security challenges. Burkina Faso continued to face insurgent violence and instability in several regions. International travel advisories warned of danger and uncertainty. Yet, the government adopted a different perspective. Development itself was seen as a weapon against instability. Infrastructure created jobs. Jobs created opportunity. Opportunity created stability. Rather than waiting for perfect security conditions, the leadership chose to build through adversity, sending a powerful signal that progress would not be postponed indefinitely. At the same time, Burkina Faso began redefining its international relationships. It joined Mali and Niger to form the Alliance of Sahel States, a regional bloc focused on mutual defense and development without Western oversight. New partnerships were pursued with countries such as Russia, Turkey, and China. Agreements focused on infrastructure, energy, and technical cooperation. The message was clear. Burkina Faso would accept partnership, but not dependency. Sovereignty would remain the foundation of all external relationships. Traoré frequently emphasized that sovereignty must translate into tangible improvements in people's lives. Political independence without economic and social development was meaningless. In speeches, he argued that sovereignty included healthcare, housing, education, and food security. A nation that could not provide for its citizens could not claim true independence. This philosophy became the driving force behind nationwide investment in infrastructure and social programs, transforming sovereignty from an abstract concept into a practical development strategy. In summary, Burkina Faso entered a new phase of national transformation. Decades of dependency and stagnation gave way to a new model based on self-reliance and internal mobilization. Roads were being built at unprecedented speed, infrastructure projects were underway across the country, and a new national identity was taking shape. The foundations of a development revolution had been laid, and the stage was now set for the ambitious mega-projects that would reshape the country's skyline and redefine its future. With a foundation of self-reliance in place, Burkina Faso has moved with lightning speed to begin modernizing its cities and improving living standards. What was once considered impossible is now visible in concrete, steel, and glass rising above the Sahel skyline. Construction cranes have become symbols of national renewal rather than foreign dependency. Entire districts that once stood quiet and undeveloped are now alive with activity. Workers, engineers, and planners are reshaping the physical and economic landscape in real time. The transformation is not theoretical, it is physical, measurable, and accelerating. The nickname Dubai of the Sahel is not merely hyperbole. It reflects a series of deliberate and ambitious construction projects designed to redefine Burkina Faso's future. Skyscrapers, modern business districts, new housing developments, and infrastructure corridors are emerging where empty land once dominated the horizon. These projects represent more than architecture. They represent a shift in national confidence and long-term vision. For decades, development was something people were told would come from outside. Now, development is being built from within. Let's explore the most emblematic initiatives one by one and examine how these bold construction projects are not only transforming skylines, but also reshaping the lives of ordinary Burkinabe. Because behind every rising tower stands a workforce gaining new skills. Behind every paved road lies a community gaining access to opportunity. And behind every new district emerges a population reclaiming control over its own future. This is not simply urban expansion, it is the construction of sovereignty itself. The most iconic project underway is undoubtedly the Burkina Business Center in Ouagadougou. Envisioned as the crown jewel of the new Burkina Faso. This is not merely a single skyscraper rising above the city skyline, but an entire business district being built from the ground up. Covering 4.6 hectares near Ouaga 2000, the development includes 15 high-rise buildings, each approximately 15 floors, alongside the centerpiece Burkina Tower at 35 floors. Poised to become one of the tallest structures in West Africa. This integrated complex is designed as a fully functional city within a city, featuring approximately 3,000 modular office spaces capable of housing multiple government ministries and private enterprises under one roof, alongside 700 residential apartments, shopping centers, medical facilities, sports infrastructure, restaurants, and a dedicated independent power plant, ensuring uninterrupted operation even in the face of national grid instability. The scale of financial commitment behind the Burkina Business Center is unprecedented in Burkina Faso's modern history, representing an investment of approximately 320 billion CFA francs, equivalent to more than 500 million US dollars. What makes this project remarkable is not only its scale, but its ownership structure, driven primarily by Burkina-based stakeholders and domestic institutions rather than foreign corporations. The lead developer, Castor Africa Group, represents a new generation of regional African firms capable of executing complex megaprojects, supported through a public-private partnership involving national land agencies and international investment partners operating under Burkina-based strategic oversight. Government leadership views the project as a long-term economic instrument, allowing ministries to relocate from expensive rented offices into state-owned facilities, while positioning Ouagadougou as a competitive regional hub for business, diplomacy, and investment. Construction progress reflects a sense of urgency aligned with national transformation goals. With completion targeted by 2029 and early operational phases expected much sooner, the pace of development signals a deliberate strategy to demonstrate visible progress. Hundreds of workers are already engaged directly on site, with thousands more benefiting indirectly through supply chains and service industries. Beyond its physical presence, the Burkina Business Center represents a structural shift in Burkina Faso's economic trajectory, creating employment, building domestic engineering capacity, and retaining economic value within the national economy rather than exporting it abroad. Even the name Burkindi, meaning integrity, carries symbolic weight, representing a vision of development that combines modern infrastructure with national sovereignty, proving that Burkina Faso's future can be constructed by its own hands without compromising its identity or independence. Just down the road from Burkindi, another set of cranes is reshaping the capital's future. Zafara Plaza is rising from what was once a quiet administrative zone, transforming it into a vibrant district designed for constant activity and modern urban life. Spearheaded by the National Urban Land Agency Sonator, this ambitious project spans 1.3 hectares in the strategic heart of Ouaga 2000. Its design reflects a deliberate shift toward vertical growth and architectural prominence. At its center stands a 20-story tower that will house a luxury 5-star hotel and premium office space, surrounded by 5 modern buildings rising 7 floors each. These structures will accommodate government headquarters, upscale residences, commercial outlets, restaurants, and a multi-purpose auditorium capable of hosting major national and international events. Carefully integrated green spaces and pedestrian plazas ensure the complex is not only functional, but visually inviting and human-centered. Zafara Plaza represents more than a real estate development. It represents a structural and symbolic break from the past. For decades, government ministries operated from aging buildings and temporary rented offices, draining national resources and projecting an image of institutional fragility. By consolidating administrative operations into modern state-owned infrastructure, Burkina Faso is strengthening both financial efficiency and institutional legitimacy. The inclusion of hospitality, retail, and public gathering spaces ensures the district remains active beyond traditional office hours, transforming it into a continuous economic and social hub. This reflects a strategic embrace of urban densification, allowing the capital to grow upward rather than outward, while maximizing land use and infrastructure efficiency. Construction began with official ceremony and political urgency, signaling the government's commitment to rapid and visible transformation. Developed through a public-private partnership combining African leadership and international engineering expertise, the project aims to meet global construction standards while preserving national ownership and strategic direction. Thousands of workers, contractors, and suppliers are already contributing to the project, creating employment and strengthening domestic construction capacity. Beyond its economic impact, Zafara Plaza carries powerful psychological significance. It represents a shift from dependence to self-determination, from temporary solutions to permanent national infrastructure. Even its name, rooted in cultural language and meaning strength and grandeur, reinforces the message that Burkina Faso's future is being built not by external forces, but by its own people, its own labor, and its own vision. Skyscrapers alone do not make a Dubai. True transformation must reach beyond glass towers and touch the daily lives of ordinary citizens. Recognizing this reality, Burkina Faso has launched one of the most ambitious housing initiatives in its history, targeting the construction of 50,000 new homes by 2029 for those who need them most. This effort is not focused on luxury developments or foreign investors, but on providing modern, durable housing for teachers, nurses, farmers, and families displaced by years of conflict. Entire residential towns are being built from scratch, including Espoir City, located just outside Ouagadougou, spanning hundreds of hectares and designed as a fully integrated community with paved roads, drainage systems, schools, clinics, security services, and public infrastructure built alongside the homes themselves. This represents a fundamental shift from unplanned urban expansion towards structured, sustainable urban development. By 2025, thousands of housing units in Espoir City were already under construction or completed, marking visible progress where empty land once stood. The homes range from modest apartments to larger family residences, allowing families from different income levels to participate in the transformation. Unlike informal settlements common in many rapidly growing cities, these neighborhoods are equipped with drainage systems, solar streetlights, healthcare facilities, and educational institutions from the beginning. This ensures that infrastructure supports the population rather than struggling to catch up after settlement. Residents moving into these communities experience not only improved housing conditions, but also increased access to safety, sanitation, and economic opportunity. What was once considered unrealistic has become tangible reality. Modern homes, organized streets, and functioning communities rising from previously undeveloped land. This housing revolution extends far beyond a single city or project. Nationwide construction is underway in dozens of regions, including rural communities and underserved towns that were historically excluded from development. Thousands of homes have been allocated to vulnerable populations, including displaced families, widows, and elderly citizens, providing stability and dignity after years of hardship. The initiative has also sparked an extraordinary level of national participation, citizens contributing materials, labor, and financial support in acts of collective nation building. From elderly individuals donating cement to young workers volunteering their time, the housing effort has become a shared national mission rather than a distant government program. This unity of purpose reflects a deeper transformation underway. Burkina Faso is not simply constructing buildings, it is constructing a new social contract between the state and its people, grounded in self-reliance, shared responsibility, and the belief that national progress belongs to everyone. Healthcare and education are undergoing equally profound transformation. In Gawa, a new 300-bed university hospital is under construction, bringing advanced medical care to a region that previously lacked access to modern treatment facilities. Equipped with surgical units, maternity wards, diagnostic imaging, and specialized departments, the hospital represents a shift toward healthcare sovereignty, allowing citizens to receive high-quality care within their own country rather than traveling abroad. At the same time, new universities, schools, and training institutions are being developed to strengthen the nation's intellectual infrastructure. Education is recognized not simply as social policy, but as strategic investment, because an educated pop becomes the foundation for technological innovation, economic growth, and long-term national stability. Beyond physical infrastructure, Burkina Faso is stepping into technological and industrial modernization. Digital innovation hubs are emerging, supporting local startups and fintech companies developing homegrown solutions for financial systems and cybersecurity. Energy independence is being pursued through ambitious plans for nuclear power generation and renewable energy expansion, while new manufacturing initiatives, including electric vehicle assembly, signal the country's intention to participate in future industries rather than remain dependent on imports. These developments reflect a broader transformation in national mindset, a shift from survival toward ambition, from dependency towards sovereignty. Across cities, villages, and construction sites, a shared belief is taking root that Burkina Faso is not waiting for development to arrive, it is building its own future, with its own hands, its own resources, and its own determination.